So here is my movie review of the Star Wars Holiday Special. Oh my god. So I originally watched this back in December of 2023, right around Christmas time, and in complete honesty, it was during a Jabroni Mike stream, and the thing was so ridiculous I honestly just had to write a review for it. And yes, it's now February, almost March, but at least now I'm getting to it. I mean, almost 3 months later, I'm still shocked at how bad it was. Anyway, I've had a minor interest in the Star Wars series my whole life. I remember watching the original trilogy with my dad and being so bored that I fell asleep. To be fair, I was 5 years old at the time. Then, when the first prequel movie came out, my father took me and my brother and sister to see it in theaters. Well, in the theater, where I fell asleep after probably 20 minutes. To be fair, I was 6 years old. A few years later, I don't remember when exactly, I saw the Star Wars Wrap on Funny Junk, a website that still pops up in my head from time to time. This was also one of the first introductions of seeing something about Star Wars that was made by fans and then kept archived on various websites by fans. So, enter the Star Wars Holiday Special. I had heard of it in passing over the years, mainly around the time I entered my 20s. I believe that I first ever heard of it through AVGN or Cinemassacre in general. There's a lot of things that I learned from them, including some of the topics that I talk about today. I remember James Rolfe talking about how bad the Star Wars Holiday Special was in passing, but I never really understood why. It came up as a joke in various videos, but I always thought, like, oh, come on. It can't be that bad, right? It can't be that bad. And I heard how George Lucas tried to bury the movie, becoming so embarrassed with it that he'd refused to talk about it in interviews. I remember that maybe it was Troll 2 quality, and perhaps that was why he was embarrassed. But I was wrong. It was worse. So much worse. First of all, I think that George Lucas has every right to be embarrassed of this movie. He should feel 5 million pounds of shame for ever even thinking that making the holiday special was ever good. There's a lot of background info to this movie that I don't really want to cover, but in a nutshell, multiple people begged for George not to do this. So many people in the production crew could see the concept for what it really was, and yet George couldn't, and the holiday special was destined for ill fate. The plot of the holiday special is simple, which is to get Chewbacca home in time for Life Day with his family. The plot is simple, though I wondered what was the point of it. It was so boring in comparison to the original trilogy, whose plot has been compared to old tales like The Morte d'Arthur. I'm not sure if Star Wars was really based off of elements of King Arthur, but I'd always heard that, going all the way back to my freshman year of high school. The simple plot was a sad excuse to create something new with Star Wars. It's something you'd expect to see in a children's cartoon, where the same exact plot of, we have to get so-and-so home, is found. For some reason, Chewbacca had a whole-ass family at home, a wife, a child, and the disgusting-looking grandpa who was his father. The movie appears to be the first of what is now the permanent trope. Let's bring a cute character in the mix as a way of making garbage appeal to a larger audience. It's clear that Lumpy, Chewbacca's son, was a shoehorn to make Star Wars more suitable to kids. I'm sure as a way to eventually get more money. I read that Lucas denies this and was afraid of people thinking this, but it's really hard not to see this as a cash grab. Supposedly, the holiday special was created to keep Star Wars in the minds of people before the second movie came out. The problem with this is that Chewbacca's family is fucking horrifying. and one of the most ugly to look at. Lumpy is annoying. He's an annoying brat that almost kills himself playing on the banister of the house outside, only one wrong step before falling to his death. Yes, I know he's supposed to be like a typical American boy, adventurous and curious. But why? Why does a being from a galaxy far, far away have to share traits with Earth in the human world? Wasn't the initial appeal of the series that the Star Wars galaxy was filled with aliens and terrestrials completely different from the world we know? The costume for Lumpy, and really the Wookiee family in general, looked ridiculous. The way the teeth and eyes appeared in Lumpy's face was so odd. It just looked off. I realized that these were the actresses, but the mask just made it all weird. Itchy, Lumpy's grandfather, looks horrifying if no one has the mask on. An image from Google made it look like a crime scene photo. And yes, Lumpy was played by a woman. The actress Patty Maloney, who is not only 3'11", but still alive today. As I record this, hopefully. Shit. Ironically, she was only 10 years or so younger than the actor who played Mala, Chewbacca's wife. Mala was played by the actor Mickey Morton, ironically. I thought it was kind of funny, like Mala played by a man, Lumpy played by a woman. But anyway, I don't know if maybe Mickey Morton was Mala because of the actor's height. Though I do remember, of course, Chewbacca's actor, Peter Mayhew, was very tall. So, but even still, it was just funny that Mala was played by a man. It was silly to me, though, that Chewbacca's family was depicted like an all-American family, something from the 50s. Mala was wearing an apron like a stereotypical housewife would, and I'm sure to also depict that she was a girl. In a galaxy far, far away, there are Wookiees just like us. There's a lot of unnecessary things in the movie, and a huge waste of talent, as they somehow got actors like Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and Carrie Fisher to come back, but there were other famous names in the mix, like Bea Arthur, Diahann Carroll, Harvey Korman, and more than that. There was all this talent that caught up in this garbage. It sucks that Diahann Carroll had sang a song specifically made for the special, because it was actually pretty good. And George Lucas's embarrassment buried the few good things in the movie like that. This movie, as a whole, was a mess. Reading the trivia on IMDb, I was sickened but curious at its monstrosity. For example, the actors in alien costumes began to pass out due to lack of oxygen in the cantina scene. That whole scene, which was pointless and unnecessary, of course, took a whole day to film. So much trouble for an unneeded scene. Apparently, George Lucas thought of the special focusing on Chewbacca's family, and this was protested, but obviously they went through with it anyway. Of course, this ends up with the first 10 minutes of the special going from no one talking at all to it being completely spoken in Wookiee.
Suck my fucking cock! Hey, you just said suck my fucking cock, listen.
For some reason, Jefferson Starship appears in the movie as some sort of futuristic movie video. And it was awful. Once again, it was not needed. Like, I don't even understand. Why was that in the movie? And the worst part was that it was Jefferson Starship, which was probably the worst era of music from the Jefferson Airplane gang. If there was one good part to the movie, I'd say that it was the animated section, which I'm not even going to risk like showing a screenshot, because apparently that thing is like quickly copyright claimed and yada yada. So, but there was an animation section in the middle of the movie or the special, and it was different from everything else entirely. There was this charm with the animation featuring Boba Fett. Apparently this was Boba Fett's first appearance ever. And apparently this animation of Boba Fett has been, I guess you would say, redistributed in other Star Wars media in the years after that. So that's probably why, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, though sometimes the animation was a bit uncanny, I do love the style that it conveyed. There's something that's really nostalgic about seeing old adult cartoons. The grittiness, the dark atmosphere, it's something that I relish. It intrigues me because of how unpolished it was, with unpolished cartoons not being the norm in today's world for a long while. I mean, if they really ever were, really. Overall, this movie was a special kind of schlock. It was an air, or it has an air of mystery to it since it's basically been forbidden by George Lucas and all who ever played in it. But this was a special level of trash that I enjoy. There is some garbage to this, which consuming is most parallel to eating junk food. I wouldn't watch this on my own, but it's definitely one of those crap modules you show to friends or any group of people. It's so bad, you want to see other people's reactions to it too. I give this 1 slime. It's not too cheesy, but it's not a good movie either. The whole thing is actually trying to be good, which actually just makes it more cringeworthy than laughably bad.